I don't want you to look at a clinic like taking a car to the shop and have it fixed. I mean, you're not taking your horse to the clinic and have it fixed. I would like to help you create some tools and learn to make some tools that you can then use when that applies, whether it's a horse you have here or another horse at home or whatever. That's my goal. The difference between this profession and many other professions is that we need tools, of course, like many things we do, but we have to make our own tools. So what we learn is our tools, and we can always use it, right? So first you have to make them, you have to learn to apply them, and when not, and all those things. So again, my goal is to leave you with something that's hopefully useful for you forever. When I'm teaching a clinic like this, I was talking to Andrea yesterday, my approach is like I am training the horse through you. That's a big part of what I'm doing. Sometimes that very often requires the rider to do some exercises to kind of get it and get a hold of it. A lot of it is always to train the rider. We're always training the rider as we train the horse, right? So that's kind of how I visualize it. I look at you on the horse. I try to see what would I be doing if I would be on this horse. And that's what I would be doing, and that's kind of how I go. However, I think part of keeping things simple is to be organized. It is very important to have some kind of plan in your mind before you get to work. I don't just get on my horse to get on my horse. I get on my horse and I have some rough idea what I'm going to do. And I'm not saying I'm going to turn left there and turn right there. It's more like, first I'm going to try to accomplish this, then I want to try to accomplish that, and I kind of have I prioritize things a little bit. And there's a few rules of thumb that I kind of want you to think about. One is pressure, response, release. That is the language we talk to horses with. Pressure, respond, release. Everything we do to the horse has to fit into that formula. You put pressure on the horse, it can just be on the ground, some physical pressure, it can be your leg, it can be your rein, it can be a combined cue, some kind of pressure to ask the horse to respond to, right? The horse responds to it, you release. That's what a rider is doing. Every minute he's on the horse, he is using that formula to communicate to the horse. Putting some kind of pressure on, waiting for the response, working for the response, releasing. The release is your way to tell the horse, thank you, you did the right thing. If there is no release, no reward, he doesn't know whether it is the right thing or not. Holding doesn't fit into this formula. It doesn't make sense to the horse. They usually answer that. They usually answer the horse listening less and less, and then before you know, he'll do whatever he wants, or escape or whatever. When horses get frustrated, they don't understand, or something doesn't work, they are not getting it. I believe that you kind of see the true spirit or the true nature of the horse come out. The calmly natured horses, they usually just kind of shut down and get lazy and kind of numb. The high-strung, tense horses, they usually just explode and leave the scene. Gone. And then you have obviously everything in between. So that's why for beginners and less experienced riders that are not going to be very accurate with their cues in the beginning, they will do a lot of things that maybe don't make perfect sense, right? Because we're learning. We need the calmer horse that then rather slows down than explodes, right? We all know this, right? That's kind of what we're constantly trying to do when we're matching a horse and rider, is to find that appropriate energy level. A horse that is sometimes what we call forgiving. That basically means a horse that if he doesn't understand, he rather just kind of shuts down a little bit and maybe even stops or slows down rather than trying to leave. Because after all, horses are flight animals, right? And they have a tendency to leave. The third kind of thing I want to put in your head is something that I've talked quite a bit about, is getting rid of resistance. For me, training is a lot about making sure, maybe with a young horse, that there will never be resistance, or then training in a way of getting rid of it. When I mention the word speed control to you, what comes to your head? Just admit it, a lot of you think about stopping or stalling, right? Controlling the horse. Well, what should come to your head is going. So if you have very little forward in the beginning, and then you add the forward restricting aid to it, you stop. Once the horse is forward, there is no pressure on. There is a release, it's a relief. The horse is free to move. You need to make sure the horse knows that forward is good. You gotta go with it. And don't step on the brakes at the same time. Let go. That's why that's usually always the first thing I work on. Believe it or not, it's needed. So, that's where I start. Getting rid of resistance and going forward. That's very important. Now what's next? Direction. Left and right. I make sure that I have no resistance with the horse to the left. Totally soft, open side to the left. Totally open, soft side to the right. I work with one rein at a time. Making sure there's no resistance to using one rein at a time. We're going to do one rein work. Kissing is the one rein stop circles. Making sure that I get through and get the horse stopped on that side. Then I start to use two reins. And making sure there's no resistance to two reins at the same time. And the first through bend and then with straight. You are riding a horse walk and you want to get this horse to get into some lateral exercise. Side press or lag yield or whatever. You gather up, your reins, you half-hold the horse a little bit, you put your lag on, and in between those hands and legs in your seat, you get this horse to step sideways, right? When you're getting that rein and that lag, and you're getting that horse in between your aids, and you're getting him to respond and taking that step, I think that's where the magic is happening. Going 50 steps sideways is much less important, in my opinion. We are not, obviously there are exercises or competitions where you compete in exercises, and then you're actually practicing the exercise. That's a different story as an exercise. But in order to improve the horse as a riding horse, or improve the relationship and the communication system, that is always the first goal. I believe that respond to the cues when we're getting into something, that's the most important part. That he responds softly in between your aids, either either separated aids or combined aids, and you get that soft response. He's happy to do it, and you get out of it, you get into it again. For me, that's what I feel like being the most important. I think we very often do the mistake that we get into an exercise that, for example, can be the tilt, and then we just ride. We somehow stumble into it, and then we just keep it as long as we can keep it until the horse says, I can't do it anymore, breaks out of it. And then we take a little break and get into it again, and we keep riding, right? Because we can keep it. So they put those three things together, getting rid of resistance, speed, direction, exercise, pressure, response, release.